Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, now redubbed Legends. Today, I have for you books 11 and 12, Enemy Lines by Aaron Olston. Now, I read these back to back. It's a duology, and seeing as how I read them back to back, they kind of bleed into one another, so I kind of forget exactly what happened in each book, but I'm going to try my best to give a brief non-spoiler synopsis of what happened in each book, and then move on to spoilers where I took notes and stuff. Aaron Olston, of course, wrote the Wraith Squadron series. He wrote basically the rest of everything that has to do with Rogue Squadron besides the duology we had here in the New Jedi Order series with Michael Stackpole. But Aaron Olston kind of took over after. Aaron Olston is also going to be a heavy contributor to the Star Wars Expanded Universe moving forward as we move into Legacy of the Force and Fate of the Jedi. He will have a significant portion to play in that, but we're still a long way off from that. But, and so for Book 11, Enemy Lines 1, Rebel Dream, I really like the writing in it. Nothing too much happens. Mainly, they're at this base that, they retook from the Vong called Borealis, something like that, a planet. And they're forming this new sort of rebel alliance against the Yuuzahn Vong because what remains of the Republic, they just kind of want to have all the people there do like a suicide mission essentially so they can make a deal with the Vong or whatever, because they think at this point it's over, they've lost. And Wedge is awesome, is like, no, screw you. We'll talk more about that in spoilers, but basically they try using Jaina Solo. This might have happened in Dark Journey as well. I don't exactly remember. But they're trying to make her be like this sort of goddess figure to freak out the Vong and be like, whoa. And it works. And this is kind of the turning point in the war where, kind of like Episode 4 when they blew up the Death Star. This is like where they finally... they're still going to be in a long, strenuous battle, but this is like the Dark Journey. We also had like a small victory there, and now this is like another victory sliding, making it be like, oh well, we were just losing. Now we're winning a couple, and hope is starting to spread back in. But mainly we focus more on Jaina in this one. Last one was mainly about Jaina. This one is about several characters, but Jaina gets still a lot of focus. Jagged Fell also gets a bit more, or Jagfell, however you say his freaking name, he gets a lot more attention to in this book. Stuff happens with him and Jaina, which we'll get to in spoilers. Kip Duran's there, Han's there, Leia's there. Well, they all kind of split off near the end of this. They're all splitting off for the next book, Enemy Lines, Book 2. I might be missing some stuff. We learn about Tezvong Law's father, so that's interesting, and he plays a role in this. Like I said, they bleed into one another, so I forget exactly. But I'm going to go into non-spoiler for Book 2 now, which is Rebel Stand. So here this is actually more interesting, and I'll have a lot more stuff to say in spoilers. But I just finished this one, so we have three separate storylines, or not three separate storylines, but three different paths, and then they all kind of converge. So we have Han and Leia doing stuff in one part. Sorry, I'm being kind of vague. Like I said, they bleed into one another, and I'm trying not to tell you too much about it. But they bleed into one another, so it gets confusing to remember exactly where everything took place. But Han and Leia are doing their thing, and then we have Mara, Luke, Tahiri, which was set up at the end of the last book, and a bit of Wraith Squadron with Face and stuff. heading out to Coruscant because they feel this dark side energy emanating from Coruscant, and Luke just knows he has to stop it. Meanwhile, the non-Jedi people also want to establish a resistance cell there, so kill two birds with one stone, I guess. So that's where a big EU freaking connection, which I wasn't even... I had to look it up because I was like, what is this? And I was like, oh! But we'll get to that in spoilers. And then we have a bit more stuff with Jaina, and we also see stuff with Tess Vong Law's father, and Wedge and stuff, and so yeah, everything that happened on Coruscant, that was super interesting, and I can't really say anything more than that without getting into spoilers, but I will say that entire section was really interesting and really cool. And then we have a big victory by our heroes at the end of the book, and it shows a little bit of hope. Like I said, it'd be the equivalent, I think, at least in the Yuuzahn Vong War, of during the Rebel Alliance War against the Empire when the first Death Star blew up. Like, you still had a long war to go through, you know, because by the time we get to Episode 5, apparently a couple years have passed already into this war, so, you know, they hadn't won the entire war yet, so it's sort of like that. You get, like, a really big, like, oh, huzzah! But there's still a lot more to go. If I'm being vague, I'm sorry. I honestly, I don't know what else to tell you without getting into spoilers. I'm sure Matt Wilkins, who, if he's watching this video, which he might be, I'm sure he'll go more in depth and do a better job, and he's not even rereading these books. As far as I understand it, he's doing it from memory. And then he just does it. That just shows you how much better he is. I take notes. And I can't even do that. I can't even do that. I can't do a review just based off of memory. So, and I take notes, and they're still not that good. So, hey, but you subscribe to see my shenanigans anyway, so thank you. But, yeah, so, I guess I'm just going to say how I felt about the books overall. They're good. The thing with it is that, like, with the first book, I felt like not too much really happened. There is character development and things happen, but I don't feel like the story really pushes forward any. I feel like with the end of this book, a bit more stuff actually happens, but it's still, I don't know, it just, some of it dragged on a bit for me personally. Especially since, ever since Star by Star, I've wanted to know what's been up with Jason. So any deviation from that is like, but I want to know, and I gotta wait till I finish you. So, but we'll get to that next time, so that'll be fun. But overall, it was still a super good series. It's written by Aaron Alston, so of course it's gonna be a great time. And then, of course, Book 2, everything that happened on Coruscant with a certain character was super interesting. And it was super fun to read about. I loved the Yuuzahn Vong. There's a point where, it's not really a spoiler, but, you know, the heroes, they're not, and the villains, they're not really working together, but they're not fighting each other because this thing is such a threat. But I'll get to that in spoilers. But it was really cool. Overall, I mean, if you're going into this new Jedi Order series, if you're this far in, you're probably reading this too, unless you're skipping novels for some reason, which I think would be a stupid thing to do. I don't think you should do that. I think you should read every book, because I think they all build upon one another. Whether it's a huge advancement or not, they all build upon one another, and it's a continuing plot that goes, no matter whether it's a huge, like, movie level push forward, or whether it's how I felt these two books were, where it's just like a little nudge, but nothing major happened, minus the end fight. But yeah, overall, two great books. Aaron Alston's a great author, and yeah, I'm going to get into spoilers now, so if you haven't read these books yet, time for you to skedaddle. And for all those of you who have already read these books, come join me as we get into spoilers, and maybe I'll be a little less scatterbrained, but who knows. So, Book 11, Enemy Lines 1, Rebel Dream. Like I said, my notes are kind of all over the place because it's just what I feel or think about at the moment, and then I write it down. I don't know if we knew this information before. We might have learned this in Hand of Thrawn, but if we learned it, I didn't remember. Wedge has 2 kids, which is just really nice, because Wedge, you know, he didn't have that much screen time in the movies. You know, he showed up a couple of times, but he really got love, and he shined in the EU. And he became, I mean, I'm going to have to do a top 10 favorite characters, top 20 favorite characters maybe, of the Star Wars Expanded Universe. I don't know. We'll get to that when we get to that. But Wedge would probably definitely be up there. And so I'm just really happy that he got to have a wife and kids and to have that happiness. And I'm glad he didn't die at the end of this book, because that would have sucked. We have too many people die already. Vikki Sesh sucks so much. But my god, do I love reading about her, though. It's sort of the same thing with Borsk Fela, except worse. Borsk Fela has been redeemed because of this lady. Vikki Sesh is one of the most hateable characters that I've ever read, seen, whatever, in fiction. But I also love reading about her and how she thinks she's so smart and how she's going to get out of every situation because she can play the game. And it's fun reading about her, even though I hate her guts. I already mentioned the new Rebel Alliance. It's not exactly the same, but they're still technically a government. What is it, Aquarian? What was it called? The freaking octopus, squid-looking guys from Mon Calamari. Pwoe, Pwoe, the freaking guy on the council. He's decided to become the new chancellor, or whatever the hell they're called, chief of state. And he's like, oh, you're going to do this and this. And Wedge is like, you can go screw yourself. And so they make a new, like, sort of rebel alliance where they're going to have cells in different parts of the place to fight the Yuuzahn Vong. My next note is Wedge is a savage. Because they come in and they're like, this is what you're going to do. And he's like, no, I'm not. He's like, well, then you're fired. It's like, I'll resign. Like, well, we kind of need you. And he's like, well, this is what I need. And you do that or I go. And good luck to you. Like, and then they give in. And it was just a great moment from Wedge. I loved it so much. Wonderful. Yeah, she does. I have no idea what I said. But, I have no idea what I said there. I'm really confused. I don't get the reference of where I'm trying to locate my brain to, and I can't remember, so I'm going to skip that one. I'm sorry. Tezvong Lao's father didn't want to come, if I remember correctly. So, Tezvong Lao's father, he's really old, which is unusual for the Vong because they're supposed to die in glorious battle. But he was so good that he just never died, which is like a blessing and a curse because now he doesn't fight in the front lines. He just teaches the youngsters. And while everyone admires him, but at the same time he's like, oh my god, I hate just teaching. I want to be out there fighting. It was really interesting actually seeing Tezvong Lao and his father's chemistry and their bond, because, you know, as far as we've seen, the Vong are kind of monsters, but at the same time, they do see themselves as the heroes in this situation. They don't see themselves as pure evil or anything. They think they're doing the right thing. So it's interesting to see, like, a family relationship between the two of them, and at least I got the impression that the father genuinely cares about his son in his own weird Vong way. So it was interesting to see that. But he didn't want to come with his son unless he was going to get to fight. He'd rather die than keep teaching. We get to see Piggy again. That's all I have to say. I love Piggy. Piggy's awesome. We get a little bit more of him, and Piggy's fun. Jagfell and Jaina. So they do end up being a romantic relationship, which, I mean, I saw coming. I didn't really have that spoiled for me. I mean, I knew his influence. Well, I don't know if it was him necessarily, but I knew that his family line would be a big part of this series at some point, because there's a Fell Empire and Legacy comics. That's all I know about the Legacy comics, really. I know about Kate Skywalker, and I know about the villain, the main villain of that series. Other than that, I don't know too much. But so I was always wondering what was going on with him. But I liked him since the first time I met him, which I think was in the Michael Stackpole novels, Dark Tide. But I enjoyed his character, and I enjoy their relationship. I'm too much of a pansy, aren't I? Because I seem to enjoy, like, every romantic relationship. I don't like every single one. There are some I didn't care for. But, I don't know. I enjoy it. I know there's going to be some, like, teen drama, though, in the future. I think I've heard complaints about, like, her and another dude, and, like, what is this, Twilight, trying to figure out, like, who you're going to date. But I'll see for myself if I find that annoying or not. But as of right now, I like them together. It's not focused too much on, but it is a development that happens in this book. And then I already mentioned in NonSpoiler how they start treating Jaina like a goddess to confuse and disrupt what the Vong think and to psychologically damage them, because, you know, they have their whole religious system, and if the gods favor this girl, then what's that mean of us, you know? So that was interesting. And my last note for book 11 is that Jaina and Leia, they have a talk. You know, Jaina has been, you know, distant with her mother because she's been struggling with the dark side and all this. And then she finally becomes well-rounded by the end of this book, and she finally figures out, you know, what's up with her. And, I don't know, Leia comes back from her mission because she goes to talk to Jaina. They just have a nice talk, and it made me tear up a bit. It was nothing really substantial or anything, nothing really changed, but, you know, they haven't really been talking that much, not in a large conversation or anything, and I don't know, I just thought it was a really sweet scene, and so I made a note about it. But that's it for book 11. Book 12, Enemy Lines 2, Rebels Stand. The disguises that Luke and everyone wears of the Vong suits on Coruscant was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. For half the book, I kept going, what is Lord Nayaks? What is this freaking thing we keep reading? We keep reading like someone's thoughts. Who is this person? What's going on here? This is really interesting. And that's all. Because Lord Nayaks, I didn't want to Google or anything, so I was just really confused as to who this person was. And then we later did figure out. Yeah, so this was interesting because I don't know. I just want to know, is something going to happen to 3PO? Because they touched on it in Black v Crisis, but that was like it. Anyway, done. They've been doing it a lot here, though. I've noticed that. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but more and more and more, we get little snippets of, like, 3PO's thoughts and stuff, and he keeps being afraid of dying because he's becoming more and more sentient. And I don't know, like, they keep focusing on that. Like, it happened, I think, in the Agents of Chaos duology. You know, he was talking about it for a second at Chewie's funeral and stuff. And it's happened a couple times where I'm just like, are they gonna kill off 3PO? Because that would suck. But, I mean, because, like, the droids have become kind of useless. They're not useless, but, like, you see less and less of them. So I'm just wondering, like, if they might do that, because they keep making him, like, question his mortality. So I don't know if something might happen where he, like, risks his robot life for everyone else. But it was just something I noticed, that they keep bringing up his sentience and his fear of death and his mortality and all that. So I enjoy the droid love in this book. We got a huge section where Han and Leia get captured. And Leia, while she does know the Force, she's not as strong in it as her brother or a lot of the other Jedi, and they can't really escape. So it's up to R2-D2 and C-3PO, which we haven't got a lot of them in, like, forever. So it's nice to have a moment with them, and especially since we get R2-D2 into the computer system, so we actually get to, like, basically see R2-D2 talk in this book, which we never really get, which was nice. It was just nice to have a couple chapters with them, because we don't usually get anything with them anymore. So I love R2-D2. I love that he basically has been around for all of Star Wars. Well, before the prequels, no, but he's been around for all the movies at least, and then all the stuff here, which is really cool. And plus, they're a great duo, and I love them together. So, it was really cool. Just a small mention of the Kip, Jaina, and the Jag picnic scene. Because I thought it was going to become a whole thing, because Jag was like, do I like her, do I not? And they kind of just figured things out, and everything's nice and mutual. And, I don't know, it was a good scene. And I enjoyed it. So, that's pretty much it. Irek is who the Dark Jedi is. Oh, right, I should probably get into that. I didn't even say that. But here's a spoiler time. So, we learned about a Dark Jedi that's on freaking Coruscant. I looked up art of him after he was dead, after I finished reading that part. And, I mean, there's a couple different art. Some of it's him a bit skinnier with... He looks a bit more like Darth Vader, which is kind of how they described him. And he was... there's others where he, like, looks, like, really big and bulky, and he has, like, these things on his thing, and he has, like, lightsabers everywhere. So I don't know which one was more supposed to look like. I had an in-between of both of those art, so I'm not sure what he's really supposed to look like, but you can Google him, and then you'll see a couple different pictures of portrayals of what he should look like. But this was the guy from the Children of the Jedi, I think, was the one of the Calista trilogy, the Eye of Palpatine. And him and his mother, I don't really, it's been a while, so they were in it, and they were doing stuff, and they were bad, I think. And in between that time, he got turned into this cyborg, dark side monster thing that doesn't really think anymore, isn't really a person, is just a thing of rage and wants to destroy everything. And he's just a powerhouse. I was imagining like the Hulk with like black armor and bajillion lightsabers around his freaking body. I don't know. That's what I thought. And that's what I kind of got in the art that I saw. But the face didn't match what I thought it was like, nor did the clothes really. But whatever. The whole section with that, trying to figure out who he was, and then once we did, that was really cool. But he's Irek from the Calista trilogy. He was the son of that one lady, and I know I'm so vague in what I'm saying. I'm sorry. All these stories kind of like bleed in, and I forget bits and pieces because I've been going through this for like 6 months, so it's hard to remember exact things that happened in each book. But it was just really fun to read it. It was definitely the highlight of these two books for me, was the entire Coruscant plotline with the Dark Jedi. But that was such a strange EU connection, because I had no idea. I completely forgot the guy's name. I completely forgot who he was, and then I Googled it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's the guy from this? What?" It wasn't as big as a what the frick as when I read the Young Jedi Knight series, and we saw the daughter of Galandro from the Han Solo trilogy by Brian Daley. But it was still like, that's crazy. So that was really cool. Oh, and then I wrote down this quote by Tahiri, because she gets like, I mean, he doesn't die right after this. He has a little bit longer, but then he kind of like fades out of existence. He dies soon after that. But Tahiri gets the final killing blow, which is really cool, because Tahiri is one of my favorite female characters of the Star Wars Expanded Universe so far. And she says, "Pain drowns others. I just swim in it." Or something like that. And I just really enjoyed that. And then my last note is that Sesh, Vikki Sesh, the worst person in the universe, finally dies. Of course, it's not as satisfying because she kills herself, but still, she's dead. Because Mara and everyone, they're about to show up. And the guy she thought was dead, one of the Vong, was not dead, and he was going to kill her. And she's like, no, no one's gonna hurt me. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die on my own terms. And so she jumps off of the building and plummets to her death. Which was satisfying. Though I wish she hadn't done it herself. Look, if Borskvela didn't deserve... No. Borskvela was a jerk, but he was not a bad... Okay, he was a bad person, but he was not a villain in the sense that he was not an evil character. He was a selfish character. He was a jerk, but he was not evil. And I will defend him now, forever. He's not a good person by any means, but I would take Borskvela a million times over Vikki Sesh. Vikki Sesh is evil. Pure evil. She gives up humanity. She gives up every other alien race to save her planet. To further her own ends. She's a terrible person. She sucks, and I'm glad she's dead. Only thing that would have made it better is having Mara kill her. Of course, give us a justified reason, like Vikki Sesh is like, oh, please forgive me, and then tries to stab Mara, and then Mara chops her head off or something. That would have been cool. I wouldn't like to have seen Mara just kill her in cold blood. Did steal her kid, but still. She didn't have her kid anymore, so it would be unjustified. But, regardless of how she died, she's dead, and that's all that matters. And then, of course, we get to the final big battle. Our heroes win a small victory. I really liked there was a moment where Vong Law's father just has a little personal moment with him. And, you know, in the weird Vong ways that they do, but he's, in essence, he's saying that he's, you know, proud of his son and stuff, and it's in an ironic sort of way humanizes the Vong. We didn't learn too much more about the Vong, but still, it's a nice little moment before he, you know, met his end. And that is pretty much it for Enemy Lines books 11 and 12 by Aaron Olston. Up next, we finally learn what happened, what's been happening to Jacen Solo. And we move, I believe this is going to be a big turning point in his character, and will lead eventually to what we will see in Legacy of the Force. And so, it's written by Matthew Stover, who wrote the Book 3 novelization of Star Wars, and did a couple other books that I haven't gotten to yet, but will when I go through the entire Expanded Universe again, in chronological order, starting from the earliest in the timeline. But yeah, I really enjoyed these books. They are definitely not my favorite. I enjoyed Star by Star more, even though it was a chore to read because of how down I felt the entire time. Vector Prime is still, I think, the standard, like the best the series had to offer, but I'm really thinking that Traitor might become my favorite of the series, but we'll see when I get to it. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Sharing helps out a ton. Comment below, let me know what you thought of these books. Let me know if you hated them. Let me know if you loved them. Let me know if you thought they were okay. Let me know moments that you loved from these books. And if you have not yet, if for some strange, bizarre reason you didn't come to know me from Matt Wilkins, and you have no idea who Matt Wilkins is, let me say, Matt Wilkins, one of the best Star Wars YouTubers on the planet, and you should go subscribe to him and go watch his content that is inevitably better than mine. Because I'm just a 19-year-old in my room reading books because I got nothing better to do. So you should go do that. Also, I have a comedy channel with my friend Finn Shamrock where we make all sorts of crazy stuff. So if that interests you in the slightest, that is an option. But otherwise, I will see you in Star Wars Traitor Book 13 in the New Jedi Order series. I'll see you next time. Bye.